Hello, and welcome to my podcast. Today, I'll share my reflections on Indigenous 303, a course that changed the way I see Indigenous ways of knowing and being. Although it was only a one-week intensive class, it was packed with deep discussions, powerful readings, field trips, and meaningful conversations. In this episode, I will discuss what stood out, how it shifted my thinking, and how these lessons will shape my future career. I'll also share some personal moments and key insights that made this course impactful. What was the most interesting thing I learned? One of the biggest takeaways from Indigenous 303 was the idea of relationality, the belief that everything is connected. Indigenous worldviews don't separate the land, spirit, community, and self. Instead, they see everything as part of one big balanced system. This challenged my previous thinking because Western education often divides knowledge into different subjects and categories. But Indigenous perspective shows that everything is linked. A moment that stuck with me was our visit to the Nose Hill Park here in Calgary, where we find the medicine wheel. Seeing it in person and learning its role in Indigenous teachings was a powerful experience. This idea of balance between mind, body, emotion, and spirit resonated with me on a deep level. It made me reflect on my own healing journey and how I've worked through challenges with mental health and personal growth. Key issues and concepts that resonated with me. Healing and reciprocity were two themes that stood out to me. Many of our readings, like those as referenced by McCabe 2008, Nabigon and Wenger Nabigon 2012, and Khmer 2022, talk about healing as more than just treating symptoms. It's about restoring balance in ourselves, in our communities. One reading that really made me think was as reference Khmer's 2022 discussion on the economy of abundance. She explains that nature thrives through relationships and mutual support, not competition. These challenges Western ideas of individualism, where success is often about outperforming others. This reading made me reflect on my own healing. I've grown so much because of the support from my community, classmates, and mentors. Healing isn't just personal, it's something we do together. Another highlight of the course was our class discussions with Nadine and Henry, two classmates who generously shared their cultural knowledge and personal experiences. Their stories made learning feel personal and real. In Western society, healing is often framed as personal endeavor, focusing on individual autonomy and resilience. However, Khmer's work highlights how everything in nature thrives through mutual interdependence, where each part of the ecosystem contributes to the well-being of the whole. This understanding of abundance, as shared in clinical mirrors how I have experienced healing in my life. My healing has not been achieving an ideal of self-reliance or individual achievement, but rather about how am I supported by the people around me and how I, in turn, offer support to others. I understand that the connection is abundant and that healing thrives when we are willing to give and receive. It was particularly evident during my transition from Medicine Hat to Calgary when I leaned on my community of friends, colleagues, and mentors to support me in my new journey, personally and professionally. Challenges and questions that arose. One of the hardest things to process was learning about the ongoing injustice Indigenous communities face because of colonization. One readings and class discussions highlighted how systemic barriers still exist today. For example, as reference, Pazderka et al. 2014 discuss intergenerational trauma, how the pain of the past generations affects mental health, identity, and well-being today. Learning about this made me reflect on non-Indigenous people's role in reconciliation. This course also made me question how mental health care is currently structured. How can we integrate Indigenous healing methods into Western healthcare systems? This question is especially important to me as I plan to work on occupational therapy. Indigenous perspective focus on balance and community, while Western approaches often prioritize individual treatment. We can learn a lot from Indigenous healing methods to make healthcare more inclusive. How this course will help me in my future profession. As someone pursuing occupational therapy, I know that this course changed my thoughts about healing. Authors like as reference of Solon 2019 and Little Bear 2000 emphasize that health isn't just about the body, it's also about emotional, spiritual, and community well-being. This aligns with my belief that good healthcare should consider the whole person, not just their physical health. Another big lesson from Indigenous 303 was reciprocity. The idea that learning and healing are shared experience. My classmates and I didn't just learn from books and lectures. We learned from each other. This reminded me that in my future work, I need to listen to and learn from the people I support rather than just apply standardized treatments. Moving forward in my career, I intend to carry these lessons with me, ensuring that my future practice embraces a holistic perspective. I want to approach healing focusing on the relationships, culture, and community rather than managing symptoms. A key question remains: how can mainstream mental health care integrate these Indigenous perspectives? I believe mental health systems should incorporate a broader understanding of wellness to create more effective and meaningful healing, acknowledging the interconnectedness of all aspects of a person's life. Understanding Indigenous settler relationships. Before this class, my understanding of Indigenous settler relationships was limited to what I had learned in history courses. However, Indigenous 303 provided a much deeper and more personal perspective. One of the most eye-opening experiences was visiting the Sutina Culture Museum. Our whole class was given the opportunity to see and meet Quaid, who guided our group through materials by the Sutina over time and highlighted many ways to bring two-eyed seeing into archaeological practices, as reference Quaid 2025. Seeing artifacts, stories, and the resilience of Indigenous communities made history feel like in a way that textbooks never could. It showed me that education is a part of this experience. Learning about Indigenous perspective shouldn't be limited to one elective course. I believe that it should be part of all areas of study. Advice for future Indigenous 303 students. If you're taking Indigenous 303, my advice is to keep an open mind and heart. This class is more than lectures and readings. It's about listening, reflecting, and engaging with different perspectives. I also encourage students to speak up and participate in discussions. Some of the most valuable insights I gained were from my classmates who brought their unique experiences to the conversation. Finally, make the most out of the field trips. Being physically present in cultural spaces like the Medicine Wheel or the Sutina Museum helps deepen your understanding of Indigenous teachings. Final thoughts. Indigenous 303 has been one of the most impactful courses I've taken. It challenged me to rethink my views, deepen my understanding of healing, and reinforce the value of relational learning. I'm incredibly grateful for this class and the opportunity to engage with Indigenous ways of knowing and being. Moving forward, I hope to continue this learning and apply it in my future work in health and rehabilitation. The readings I have engaged with, such as those by, as reference, McCabe 2008, Absalon 2019, and Chimera 2022, have deepened my understanding that healing is relational and tied to cultural identity, community, and interconnectedness. The perspective resonates with my healing journey through mental health struggles, as I have come to realize that wellness cannot be separated from relationships and culture roots. In contrast, the incomplete approaches of Western mental health care, which focus solely on symptom treatment, Indigenous healing practices emphasize holistic well-being and community support. These readings have made me reflect on the limitations of the mainstream systems, which tends to isolate individuals from their cultural and relational context. I now see that healing, especially in the context of mental health, requires a more competitive approach that incorporates the mind, body, emotions, and spirit. This reflection explored the theme of healing through an Indigenous lens by engaging with the readings, lectures, discussions, and my overall class experience. While all the readings provide valuable insights, I focus on those that resonated me with the most, especially as reference McCabe's 2008 discussion of healing as integrating mind, body, emotions, and spirit. These perspectives align with my lived experiences, my community rehabilitation studies, my radical mental health doula practicum, and my professional aspirations in occupational therapy. These reflections deepen my understanding of healing as continuous, relational, and culturally rooted process. Thank you for listening to my reflections. I hope you found them insightful. I encourage everyone to keep learning about Indigenous perspectives. Until next time.